Sometimes we dive headfirst into a movie that we don't know much about, that we haven't seen before. We go in blind and we come out, and not just for this podcast, but just for for things to entertain ourselves at night. Sometimes we go in blind and we watch it and we're like, okay, that's woo. And then there are times, they're rare, but there are times when we go in kind of blind on a movie and we come out and we're like, that was really, really good.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, it's a delight.
A relief.
And this was one of those times.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like you're being Milo. Trying to kill me by talking so slow.
So we recently watched the new Jumanji movie with our daughter.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. We all laughed.
Yeah.
Well, but that's not the movie we're talking about.
No.
No, that's not this week's episode. That is hardly a B movie.
Right. Yeah. But this was one of those times. Went in blind. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I would watch it again.
Yeah. And might.
Yeah.
Because, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and a lot of stuff to learn.
Yeah. Do you want to roll in?
Let's go.
Fuck's sake. Hey, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. I'm Jim.
I'm Danny.
And we have an interesting find this week, completely by accident and I guess impulse.
Yeah.
So curiously enough, was just, trying to catch up on Twitter stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the confinement and everything going on, there are way more messages. And I one of our followers said, "Hey, I'm watching this tonight." So I looked at it and I thought, what's this?
The poster for it is really interesting. It's got a lot of very bright, very visual imagery.
Yeah. So anyway, I found or you said it was on Hulu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I went out. That's when I came out to the living room. I'm like, okay, I want to see this.
Right.
As I brought up the trailer and we watched it and we're like, okay, this is it. We're going to do this for our next episode. And, it's it was a lot of fun.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I was just, it was a lot of fun.
Well, why don't we dive into this bad boy?
I'll tell you about it.
Yeah. Tell us what we've got and what it is.
Okay. Well, it is a little movie called Tragedy Girls. It was made in 2017, directed by Tyler McIntyre. The writers, Chris Lee Hill, Tyler McIntyre, and Justin Olson. It was starring Brianna Hildebrand, Alexandra Shipp, Kevin Durand, and Jack Quaid. Rated R.
Yes.
Yeah. We couldn't find the budget.
I dug, but nothing.
I would estimate that it was a pretty respectable budget, higher than your average indie movie.
Yeah, this looks like something that had some backers.
Yes.
Not, campaign backers, but some executives
right.
And some purse strings.
Mm-hmm. But not a major studio, hence indie, hence why we're covering it.
Exactly.
So the plot or log line of this is best friends Sadie and Michaela are on a mission to boost their social media fandom as amateur crime reporters, hot on the trail of a deranged local serial killer. After they manage to capture the killer and secretly hold him hostage, they realize the best way to get some scoops on future victims would be to, murder people themselves.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and I know how you are about long log lines. I honestly tried.
I believe you.
That was like the shortest.
Yeah.
And that one I think was the next shortest one was pretty much that, but then there were like 5 more sentences.
Right.
It was a long paragraph.
Well, log lines are really hard. They're really hard to capture, and that's something that when you're pitching scripts and ideas and films and whatever it is, you really want to make sure that your log line does capture what's in the film, more so than making sure that it's a sentence, right?
Well, yeah. I guess because there's different kinds of log lines or pitch lines, right? So a log line is supposed to really only be 2 sentences max.
Yeah.
Some say maybe 3, but 1 preferably. 2 if you have to.
Right.
But that's to get a pitch to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's that elevator pitch. That's the 1 sentence is the best because you've only got 30 seconds. Right? So get that out there and then as best as you can. But for, I call them liner notes, and I still think people probably don't know what that means every time I say the liner notes for this and that. For those of you not old enough to have spent your childhood with records, vinyls, okay. All of the stuff on the inside of the album were liner notes, the notes on the music, the songs. It could have been anything, they would put things inside the album covers, having to do with the production or, and some of it didn't have anything to do with the record. Right. Some of, but they're just liner notes. So everything that we see, those little TV guide blurbs or the descriptions, on Netflix and Hulu, I call them liner notes. And it's a little bit different because like TV guide format used to be the way to do it. And they were like 3 or 4 sentences and they had a word count.
Yeah.
Because they don't have so much space in the TV guide. You got to get it to fit.
Right.
And people probably don't even know what that is. I don't even know if it's still around.
I don't know. The equivalent today, even though there's a lot more room in it, would be like the synopses when you pull something up on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. Right.
And we've seen some that were so long, the part that you could get. And like, Prime is like, hey, this is the end of the road and we're done. And it just cuts off mid-sentence.
Yeah.
It's like you barely set it up. You used like 145 words and you told me nothing. Now you're out of room. So I think before we begin, that would probably be a good lesson to
that's why I brought it up.
All right. You're awesome. There's a ton of things out there, not the least of which stage32.com.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of help from it just in the forums. You don't even need to like hook up with producers, executives, and all that. Just people in the forums can help you. And if you're nice and you build relationships in a short period of time, there are people who will, okay, throw it at me. What do you got? And they'll just say, okay, that's a lot.
Right.
You have 5 seconds to live and you want to get this movie out. The premise of this, what are you going to say? And right. Count it down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mastering the different kinds of log lines, the elevator pitch, log line, the synopses.
Right. There's the comparison, which is like, Indiana Jones meets Star Wars.
Right.
Right.
And now we have had people say, I don't bother with those.
Right.
Right. If you send them a pitch or you give them a pitch, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But the most part, you should still have it. Right. Because then you can customize it. Like if this person doesn't give a shit about what it compares to, well, then cut that part out and keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, and practicing the various types of pitches because there's a written pitch, there's a verbal pitch, there's the room pitch. So like on stage 32, if you do a verbal pitch, you've got essentially 4 minutes. It's an 8-minute session, right?
Yeah.
So it's like an elongated elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's a super slow elevator.
The first 2 minutes are going to be everyone figuring out the technical stuff and saying, hi, how's the weather, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, the intro and the ease in. And then you want to give 4 minutes. So you want to keep it to 4 minutes for your verbal pitch so that they can ask you some questions.
Yeah.
Because they have other people they need to move on.
Oh, yeah.
to.
They're like back to back to back to back to back with these.
But it's good to do that. It's hard.
It is hard.
I prefer the written pitch.
Yeah, I do, because you can spend a lot of time finally crafting it and tuning it. And let's be real, a lot of us writers, not really good at selling ourselves.
No.
Right? It's 3 times as hard when you are suddenly face to face with someone who can hold your baby of a script in their hands and, tear it to shreds.
Yes.
Right? When you're doing a written pitch, you don't have to worry about that as much.
No, but there are other things that
Yes.
are a verbal pitch doesn't include, that a written pitch can drive you fucking nuts.
Yes.
I mean, there's a couple of pitches we've had where we've reworked and just recently I reworked 3 of them and worked out really well.
Hey, requests. Yeah.
So yeah, spend some time putting your shit together in a super quick, you're just like sticking your head in a cab before it pulls off from the light, get out what you want to get out. To the longer, then you got a 30-second pitch, the elevator pitch, work on your log line and learn how to boil down your content for different time frames, because number one, professionally speaking, someone's going to have a pitch meeting with you in X amount of time, and you want to fit that. But more importantly, what if you are one of those lucky people who is actually on a fucking elevator? Because this does happen. That's why they call it the elevator pitch.
Right.
And maybe you're talking on the phone with somebody. Anyway, someone in the elevator is like, you got a movie? What's it about? You're on.
Yeah. You have 30 seconds.
Yep. Go. Have it prepared. Super important.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's incredibly important. And, when you're doing things like that, your 30-second pitch, your log line, get feedback from people.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I'm putting this out there for you. What do you think of it?
Mm-hmm. And the simplest question to ask is, did it interest you?
Right.
Would you want to, see more, hear more, whatever, and it's hard. We've talked about finding people to do this with.
Yeah.
Face to face, read your script, present to people, we've talked, I think, before about doing a pitch for people.
Yeah.
And it is hard if you don't have anybody who lives in your quote unquote neighborhood, the creative neighborhood. It's really difficult to get valuable feedback.
It is. And I would say with any feedback that you get, the thing that you should pay a lot of attention to are the questions that they ask you.
Yes.
So if they ask you something that you can address in your pitch, and then you don't have to worry about them asking that question, add it to your pitch. If it's a question that needs further discussion that you can't just plop into your pitch, just remember that question and have the concise answer for it in your head.
Right. And I will say this, sometimes the questions give you an insight into when to just drop the fucking bomb on that bridge.
Yes.
We have had a few people ask questions where the information to the question they asked is not only in the title, in the log line, in the intro line, in the first paragraph under character setup, and the first paragraph, the first few sentences of the story. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's right there. And then they ask the question like, well, so who's this about? When you get something like that, my advice, just close the book, crumple the paper, delete the email, whatever. Just fucking move on. Because anything after that,
It's not a person that you're going to be able to connect with.
No, and they're for whatever reason they're not invested. And so any information you have after that, I always feel like, you know what, you don't even the name of the fucking movie is the name of the character, which is the name of the story, which is an IP off of this and that and this and that, and then you ask who's this about, dude. Nothing you say after that is going to be of any use to me.
Yes.
You know, and then there's times you can see they just clearly didn't read.
Yeah.
You know, there might be something useful. They might actually hit on something like, you know, this sounded good, but it needs to be more up tempo. Okay, cool. I'll take that. But the rest of it flush. Yeah. But Stage 32 is awesome for that because there are people there who are doing the same shit you're doing. And, they hopefully have been at it longer.
Right.
Right. So they can give you some of their war stories and, you know, I mean, you can't take every note, but you eventually start to compile, you know, there's a recurring theme.
Yeah.
You know, people are saying, so I need to fix this part universally.
Yes.
Whether I make my pitch more detailed or less detailed, I need to fix this piece across all of them.
Whether it's in the script itself or just in your pitch because you haven't made it clear in your pitch.
Right.
Yeah. And before we jump into the movie, I'm going to say one last thing. We've been getting tons of emails from Stage 32. Development is not stopping right now.
Right. So, again, we record these a couple weeks in advance.
Yep.
Just in case something happens and we can't get to an episode, we don't have to scramble. And, you know, hopefully we're not going to be like 3 weeks incapacitated because then we will miss one.
Right.
You know, so this is actually, so it's March 29th. As you're listening to this, you'll know, you know, the White House just formally extended, you know, officially another 30 days, the quarantine and self-isolation and all that. Hollywood is basically shut down.
Right. There's no production.
Well, I guess I need to back up. That's the problem. What I just said is actually the problem. Hollywood is not shut down.
Yeah.
Shooting is shut down. Right. So filmmakers, you know what that means. When shooting's shut down, you still have a ton of shit to do.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with the camera. They are using their time.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. Hollywood executives and agents and managers, none of them need a fucking office. None of them. No. So if they're all sitting at home, they're still working. They still need to find scripts. They still need to plan budgets. They still need to try and call people and say, hey, man, can I get you on board with this? Yeah. You know, they still need to line up content and make plans and, you know, trim and fix and edit and re-edit. Yep. A lot of solo work goes on. Yes. You know, script writers are still writing for series and stuff. Oh, yeah. You know, well, for those that are still moving, because there are a couple. There are a couple that were canceled. And then there are a few that are like just like we're just stopping period and see how it goes because they're kind of on the fringe. Yeah. But you know, it's a rough gig, and you know it can. This is no different than like a writer's strike, an actor's strike, you know, the Teamster strike to get all the equipment going. It's hard times. Yes. But like every other one of these big moments, you know, universally we'll get through it. Yeah. It's gonna be hard. But, it is. You know, can't speak to everything, but, you know, for creatives, just keep doing what you're doing. You can still pitch your scripts. You can still write your scripts. You can still talk to people and get feedback on stuff. And there's 1.5 million things that you can still do. Mm-hmm. So don't stop. And just life might be a little harder. You know, people have money worries. There's you know, jobs and stuff. We get that. But you can still try and do, I mean, you can salvage this part. Yes. You know, so hopefully by the time this comes out, we will be on the upswing. Yeah, maybe? Somewhat somewhere. Yeah. on it getting better. I hope so. Hopefully we'll be at a point of recovering. Right. Yeah. So, well, let's do what what we're here to do, which
Yeah.
is to keep doing our podcast.
Doesn't stop us.
And let's start talking about Tragedy Girls.
Yeah. So the movie starts out, we kind of pan into Sweetheart Bridge. We know that it's Sweetheart Bridge because there's a gigantic sign
Yes.
on top of the bridge
I thought that was awesome.
that says Sweetheart Bridge. I'm digging the music that's going on at the beginning of this movie. And then it was pretty even keel throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it was good.
Mhm.
You know, maybe not what I'll have on my playlist. Well, sometimes it's just not my thing, but it was good.
Mhm.
I mean, it was production music.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't the Casio.
It was tonally appropriate.
Yes.
And it worked for the scene. So there's a car, and there's some teenagers in the back seat. They're making out and, things that people do and at Sweetheart Bridge, as it were. And the girl hears a noise, and she tells the guy to go check it out. And he's kind of iffy about it. He's like, no, it's fine. I've got a bad feeling about it. And she really pushes him a lot.
Yes. She's super insistent.
She is, and very pushy.
Yes.
To get out and look. So he gets out and he kind of walks down the bridge. This takes a little while to happen. And as he's, a couple feet away from the car, he hears another noise, and he turns around and just gets a machete straight in the center of his face.
Yes.
Cleaving his head in twain.
Yes.
Yeah. The girl screams and runs away. And the killer follows her, and she leads him to a tripwire that just clotheslines him. And a friend turns up and tases him. And they kind of both tase him.
Yeah. It's not working.
It's pretty funny. But it's clear that they planned this.
Yes.
They explain to him, they knock him out, they get him tied up. He's in somewhere, some old shed or something.
Yeah.
And they explain to him that they've been following him, and they want him to teach them how to be serial killers.
Yeah.
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 And so they've figured him out and laid a trap and waited and waited and waited until he shows up. And there's a pretty funny line there where she's like, "Oh man, do you know how many hand jobs this girl had to give?" So the girl that was in the car had apparently been doing this a lot.
Well, yeah, because
Waiting.
he stalks couples
Mm-hmm.
and apparently has a preference for short hair on women,
Right.
or girls, because they're high schoolers.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they go into she had to cut her hair. Said, "Good thing I look good in pixie cut." She's like, how many dates she had to go on? How many?
Right.
But it was, yeah. That cracked me up because it was just. I mean, we didn't know what to expect. I mean, the trailer made it look like this was going to be kind of a fun, because there were some jokes in it,
Right.
and everything. But when she's like, "Do you know how many hand jobs she had to give?" 30.
Like 30.
30.
And they're these teenage girls.
Yep. So on the walls of the shed, as this is all going on, you can see that there's, that they've been tracking him, all of his murders.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're into it.
All I've ever wanted in life is a reason to have a wall like that with random pictures of stuff and yarn connecting everything.
I know. We don't have anything to do that for, though.
I know.
Not right now, but maybe soon. I don't know. So anyway, as they're going on with, what they want him to do, we hear a noise, and we see on the other side of the shed on a table is the boy who got cleaved.
Yes.
Right? Apparently he's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a bad deal because he's taking a machete like 5 inches straight into his head. And face,
Yeah.
Right. So, quality of life is going to be an issue. Well, they suffocate him.
Mhm.
Wasn't too hard. And I was thinking, yeah, it's for the best. There wasn't much for him after tonight.
No.
And so with that, we have now officially met the Tragedy Girls.
Yes.
All right. And next thing we see is they're cutting up the boy's body and throwing it into a vat of acid.
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was, these girls are clearly on top of their game.
Yeah.
They are into this whole murder thing.
They do make a comment about how long it took them to get the mixture of the acid just right.
Yeah. So in addition to what we just seen here, we get a nice little feel for this has been going on. This isn't just like fandom.
Right.
For them, because there are people out there who follow serial killers.
Yes.
Right. And they're like fucking fans and stuff. This isn't that. These are doers.
They are doers. And the only reason they tracked him down specifically was because they're like, we need an education.
Yeah. And they like his style.
Yeah.
So after all this, they lock him up. He's tied, everything. They leave and go home for the night. So we have one who goes home to a pretty nice house and, nerdy parents kind of expected that. And then the other one goes to a house that's not so nice.
Right.
It's in a trailer park.
Mm-hmm.
And though Dad seems pretty cool.
He seems really nice.
We didn't get the stereotypical, his gut wasn't hanging out. He wasn't in a beer food stains t-shirt.
Right. Like he was a little portly and just a little bit sloppy, but not awful in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah. He just doesn't make a lot of money.
Right.
So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So then it's the next day at school and the two girls are playing it up, trying to get likes on their Tragedy Girls page. They're on social media and they apparently have a blog.
Yes.
I
just got to say, as much as I fucking hate social media and I kind of dreaded its presence in this movie,
I did too.
I fucking loved everything about it. I just wanted to say that before you go further.
Well, I think that's because it was a commentary on a lot of the problems with social media.
Yes. That was one of the reasons, but they also did it really well. It was fucking funny.
Unfortunately for them, it turns out that the police department aren't really concerned about the disappearance of said boy.
Right.
Who?
Yeah, there's a pretty blasé. Oh, got another one missing.
Right.
Or, it's like, okay.
Right. And the girls aren't doing as well as they want to on their social media.
No.
And the police think the boy ran away. And one of the girls makes a comment. She's like, "Oh, we got one retweet today, and it was your mom." And it's like, "Good job, sweetie."
Yeah.
So they decide that they need to up their game. So they make a video about the different kinds of killers, like the difference between a serial killer and
a mass murderer, and
and a spree killer. Because there are legitimate differences, and they actually covered them pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who has a crush on, for now I'm going to call her the blonde one with the short haircut.
With the pixie cut.
Mm-hmm. And because he has a crush on her, he edits all their videos for them. So he's done this favor for them, and then she kind of blows him off.
Yeah. It's very stereotypical relationship. You can see there's some sort of, from him,
yeah,
and from her side, she's like, well, he's a little hunky, but doesn't see him that way, and
Well, and she knows that he likes her, and she's taking advantage of it, and she knows that she is.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, they know everything that they do.
Yes.
Yeah. So after she blows them off, we're at a smoothie bar, and they're upset over the responses to their tweets.
Yes.
Then they use their phone. They got a camera in the shed, so they're remotely checking in on the machete killer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about him. And then I loved it as they're talking. One of them says, I can't believe he's being such a dick about helping us.
Right.
And it was so genuine.
Yeah.
Like, why is he being such a fucking,
What an asshole.
okay.
Right.
But that was really good, setting how far removed from reality these fucking girls really are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
This isn't like Heathers and all that shit where
Right.
there's just some fucking psychopath, sociopath, other path fucking people at play. These two are just so far outside of the realm of reality. It's what makes it comical.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we mentioned earlier, but the guy was not about helping them at all. He woke up tied up after being electrocuted with these girls, and he was like, I'm going to fucking kill you.
Yep, I'm going to cut your throat, pull your heart out through your fucking chest cavity.
Yeah. And they were like,
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then they start talking about taking the place of the killer,
Mm-hmm.
Machete Man.
Yes.
And using his story to push their narrative.
And then framing him.
And then frame him because they've already got him, right?
Right.
So they're going to try and duplicate all of his shit. And so the tragedy goes, and that was the thing, is we didn't really get, even at this point, what their fucking site was really all about.
Right.
But it's a I don't want to say a murder fan site, but it's one of those sites that survives on, tragedies.
Yes.
Murders and shit. So it's kind of like my grandfather used to read these old magazines. I think they're still out there somewhere, like True Detective.
Right.
And it's not stories. It's just actual shit that's happened,
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, 10 years ago, whatever. So that's what their site is about. So they want to push that by using him as their banner.
Yeah.
All right. So then they find out that some guy has a ton more followers than they do. And we find out that he's the ex of one of them. And his name is Toby. And the guy's a total douche.
He is. But yeah, I love the actor that plays him. He's hilarious.
He does a really good job.
He does.
So they go up to him and ask if they could give him a shout out on his feed. He's got like 17,000.
Or if he could give them one.
Yeah, if he could give them a shout out on his feed. And he just shuts him down completely. And so KK, who is the one with not short hair.
Right.
That's what he calls her. And I noted that, again, there's no names yet. And I don't think we missed them because a lot of stuff was going on. And I don't, because I remember distinctly when they were walking in the house. Usually that's when the parents are like, hey, Beth, how you doing?
Right.
I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah. It took me a while to get the names too.
Well, yeah, you went through and replaced all this shit in my notes. But yes, the one, I just called her short hair. And then this one I kept calling KK because I didn't catch it. By the time I did catch her name, her full name,
yeah,
I'm like, well, it's too fucking late to change. So anyway, KK, and we find out that KK is ex-girlfriend, Toby, and she tries her feminine wiles, and he's just like, Toby can't do it.
Right.
He actually talked about himself in the third person.
Yeah.
Super douche move.
Yeah.
And then KK's friend is not short hair.
Yes.
Is not really excited about how Toby is drooling over KK. And then so short hair wants to kill him. Now you have the name here. Did you get the name?
I did.
At this point? Okay.
Yeah. Well, they were calling her Sade, and I thought it was Sid.
Yeah.
But it's Sadie. So I had Sid a lot.
So Sadie's the one with the pixie cut.
Yep.
And so she wants Toby dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then KK is Michaela.
Yes.
So outside of Toby's house that night, because they've done some planning around this.
Oh, yeah.
Michaela calls him and just breathes heavily into the phone.
It was so weird.
And she's holding it. She's just like,
Yeah, and not even like, the typical. So we think back to shit. What was the one that we watched? Black Christmas.
Yeah.
And a couple others like from the 70s.
Right.
They're earnest and they're deep and everything, but this was just like she's fogging her glasses, getting ready to wipe them.
It's funny.
It's awkward as shit, and it's funny, yeah.
And he keeps asking, like, is this, Jenna? Is this, so and so?
A list of names.
And she's like fourth on the list, and she's kind of offended that she's number 4. But he goes out for what he calls his thinking ride.
Yeah,
on his motorcycle, which is part of why he's so popular.
Yes.
So she follows him with the lights on in her car and is harassing him on the road.
Yeah.
Like coming up really close behind him, driving erratically.
Yeah, won't pass him.
Right.
Just honking, lights flashing.
Yep. Forcing him to kind of go faster, and he eventually goes over some road spikes that Sadie has laid across the road.
Yep.
And crashes. Well, Sadie has caught it on video on her phone, but they realize that Toby's still alive in the ditch. His leg is all the way out to one side.
When they cut to him splayed out like that, I was like, oh my fucking God. He is all busted up.
Yes.
So, so they go at him, and Sadie starts to stab him in the stomach. And he's like, oh. And Michaela says, no, the heart's to the left.
Yeah.
So Sadie moves over to the left, but she keeps stabbing him in the fucking stomach, right?
She's like, I'm trying.
And then Michaela's like, dude, you're just hitting bone. Let me try. And then she starts to stab him in the stomach over and over again. Mm-hmm. And at that point, a car comes by. And Michaela is, stops stabbing him, and she's keeping him quiet while Sadie runs up and basically sends the driver away. Everything's fine, all this and that. She gets back, and Michaela is making out with Toby, who by this time is dead.
Yes.
That was creepy as hell.
It was.
And she's like, oh, dude, what the hell? So at school, they're going over their story. And there's a reporter there. And it turns out the death is being ruled as an accident.
Yes.
And they're trying to push the murder point, mentioning multiple stab wounds. Like, well, but what about all the stab wounds that we heard there were? And they're just like dejected. It was all for nothing.
Yeah.
Another fucking accident.
Yeah. So now they've killed 2 people. And both of them.
Well, no, Bridge Boy, Machete Man killed him.
Well, he cleaved him, but the girls killed him and disposed of his body.
Well, I suppose.
So there's been 2 deaths.
But they didn't leave evidence of him.
Right.
Yeah, they just, okay.
Right. And neither death has been as splashy as they wanted.
Oh, it's a dead thud.
Yeah. This isn't helping them at all.
No.
So another blow comes when the head cheerleader / snooty person.
I called her Snooty.
Who's I wrote in front. I was like Syl, because that's what they keep calling her.
Yeah.
They're at student council, and Syl is voting to give all of their prom funds to the victims' families.
Right.
Of these 2 recent deaths, and they're like, no. We need to have prom. Mm-hmm. We're not going to cancel prom.
Well, and she was a junior,
right, on
the committee, because that was one of the things. Well, when you get to a senior, maybe you'll understand how important prom is. But we are not giving our fucking money away.
Yes. And so they find this free little library that Syl has made that's going to a contest or something.
She entered some thing and built this little library house.
Right. So they're standing there talking about it, and Syl comes by a little later, and it's smashed to bits.
Yep.
So we can kind of assume that Sadie and Michaela destroyed this library. So Scylla's in the shop after school fixing it when our tragedy girls ambush her, and they're in all black suits wearing just a white mask.
Yep.
But Syl identifies Michaela by her shoes.
Yes.
Which are very like loud.
Yeah, and bright pink glittery laces, which she had worn to cheerleading practice earlier.
Yes.
And she basically, the snooty said, well, you can just sit this one out. You have to have proper shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the ensuing scuffle, a lot of things happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwing around and stuff. It was actually pretty good.
Yes, it was. But this kind of Rube Goldberg style incident happens where they accidentally turn on the table saw and loop Snooty up in a pulley chain, and she gets swung toward the table, and it saws her upside down. Yeah, because it pulls her up by her foot and saws her head in half.
Yep, runs her face right over the saw.
It's hilarious.
It is.
And the tragedy girls are both like, whoa.
God damn it.
Yeah, Sadie's upset. She's like, this is going to look like another fucking accident. So they chop up her body and they're arranging it in the shop gruesomely to make absolutely sure no one could reasonably assume that she did this to herself.
Yep. No one's going to think she did this to herself. Body parts on different shop machines.
Right.
Oh, my God. So, and the funny thing is as they're doing this, the janitor, who's, the tropish school janitor, just inattentive, doesn't know anything that's fucking going on. But it was hilarious because he comes in and they're there with all these body parts and shit in their hands. And they just stop, look at each other, and then look over at him. And are just staring at him for this whole 30 seconds. Because he comes in, he doesn't look up. He starts emptying the trash can by the door, does some shit, puts a new bag in it or something, and then leaves. And then turns the fucking lights out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So the next morning, Snooty's lackey, I named Lackey. She's, it's the snooty popular girl who has the one, I don't want to say friend, but the follower, the servant.
Right.
The less than.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this girl walks into the wood shop and Snooty's body parts are everywhere and her head is fucking spinning around on some shop machine.
Yes.
And of course she loses her shit.
Yes. It's funny. So the next day, the tragedy girls are relishing the new attention, because they've been telling the whole town about, there's a spree killer on the loose. There's, something's going on. And now obviously something's going on. So everyone's like, oh, you guys knew all the time. And they're getting tons of likes and, they're on their phones all day as they're going through the school. And, the Crusher boy who does their videos, who likes Sadie, is suspicious of Michaela. And his name is Jordan. And he says that his dad, who is the chief of police in the town,
of course,
wants to bring them in for interfering with the investigation. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, they're all excited about it.
Yeah. And then we have at Syl's memorial, Sadie and Michaela have been asked to speak because they were on student council with her. They cheerleaded with her.
Yes.
And they had Jordan make a memorial video for her, and it's cheesy, and they're just basking in this, she was taken too early and blah, blah, blah. And then the fire chief stands up and he's like, we're going to get this son of a bitch. Steals the spotlight from them, promising to find the killer. And they're not happy that the spotlight has been taken from them.
No.
They're pissed. So they decide they're going to make him the next target. And he's a big dude. Real big.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. And it's at this point, there's a teacher in the school who I thought was the counselor, because when one of the deaths happened, she was like, if anyone needs to talk, I'm here.
Yeah, I thought so too. But she's just a touchy-feely teacher.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So there's a little pan shot of her at the funeral, and I was like, she's super fucking fishy.
I know.
I don't like her. Anyway, just a side note there.
Well, yeah. we get back to the shed. Michaela is now alone with Machete Guy. And he's starting to get into her head, telling her that Sadie is always bossing her around, that Michaela is more like him.
Right.
And, you can't trust Sadie. And he's trying to talk her into, release me. And it'll be you and me, kid. We'll go out there and just fucking kill everyone who gets in our way.
Right.
And, looks like she's listening and pacing and stuff. And then all of a sudden she just starts fucking laughing. Mm-hmm. She's like, you can't get between me and my BFF. All right. So then we cut to them stalking the firemen. Mm-hmm. They seem to have an elaborate plan. So he's at the gym.
Yes.
Right. Or no, they're stalking him.
They're stalking him.
Yeah. Oh, he's
seeing the teacher.
He's seeing the fishy as fuck teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're back to Jordan, who is at the station trying to talk to his dad, telling him, hey, the girls have found something. And he gets blown off. Mm-hmm. Right. So they go into an office and the sheriff goes into a little speech. And apparently Jordan's mother was killed by the Machete Guy.
No, she was killed in mysterious circumstances. They didn't say that she was killed by a serial killer.
Made it seem like that to me.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. Anyway, so Dad gets called away. And of course, Jordan right away hops into the computer that's logged in, even though they weren't in there previously. And his dad didn't log in when they logged in. But apparently one of the sheriff's department's computers is sitting there wide open. So Jordan goes to work and starts looking up shit.
Yes.
Just want to make a point. Okay. It's not a serious movie. I get that. Right. But I'm going to go back to know a little bit about how shit works before you include it. Okay. I have no fucking intention of spending 5 minutes in anything we write about the process of making concrete, because I know fiddly fuck all about making concrete. But I can fucking promise you, if we had to, I would go out and learn how to make concrete. I went out and learned a little bit about the process,
mm-hmm.
of mason work on headstones.
Right.
Just a little bit, because we only need a little bit for the little tiny short we want to do. It just bugs me. Anything with computers bugs me, because there's it just doesn't make sense, Anyway, just don't do it. or learn how to incorporate it better. I mean, he could have gone in. His I don't know, his dad could have logged in at least for some reason. That would have been something.
Yeah.
Right? Because because the way Jordan looked, he's like, and you're like, oh, this is sneaky. But then my first thought is, well, why is he so fucking worried? Apparently this shit is just wide open. Right? So no one's going to care if he's, someone comes in, he's like, what are you doing? Tetris. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
So, the fire chief is at the gym.
Right.
I don't know how many times they needed to say chief there, but
chief
doesn't feel like enough. Chief. Okay. So, the girls have a plan. Michaela's going to go in there and she's going to use her wiles.
Yes.
They've got a drug or something that they've got to make him a little weaker, because they're like, he's fucking big.
Yeah, in their planning stage. Like, why do we even need that? Because he's fucking huge.
Right. Yeah. And Michaela's really excited about going in and doing this herself.
Right.
So she does go in and she manages to drug his water bottle. Not super smoothly. But
it's pretty sad, actually.
It is.
It's Ooh. Anyway.
And she keeps trying to get him to drink it, like really obviously. When Sadie out in the car gets a text from Jordan, who says he's on his way to her house, which could mean that their cover's blown. So Sadie goes in to kind of hurry stuff up, and Michaela's pretty annoyed about it. They get into a scuffle with the chief, and they're not doing too well at taking him down.
No.
Because he is big.
He is. Well, and I can't remember his name, the actor, but fans of Brooklyn Nine-Nine will know him as Doug Judy.
Yes.
And he's been in a ton.
Yeah, he was Daryl in The Office.
Yep. And ton of films. I mean, ranging from Kevin Smith, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Right.
You know, all that stuff.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. So where was I? Oh yeah, they're not taking him down really easily.
No.
But finally, after a really long fight with him, Sadie stabs him, and they kind of like crush his skull open. It's so weird to describe.
Yeah, well, he gets knocked back on a
bench press.
A bench press,
and they take the pin.
Yeah,
out.
He's feeling kind of wobbly. So that's what happened. The drug does start to take effect.
Yeah,
because he's choking the shit out of Sadie.
Yes,
and he's like, "Oh!" That's when she stabs him. I can't remember what it is that makes him get knocked up or something. He doesn't like just stand up and fall.
Then
back.
Michaela hits him.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then he goes up and back, lands on the bench. And then they walk over and they pull the pin out.
Yes.
And the weight comes down and
straight across his forehead.
Like right in the middle of the forehead and just fucking
takes off the top of his head.
Yep. That was cool.
It was awesome. So rushing home, and Michaela's like, she's not happy that Sadie came in and interfered. She's like, I still want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Jordan meets Sadie at her house, and he has taken all the crime scene photos from all the murders.
Yeah. Well, the digital, he put them on a flash drive. Yeah.
So they're going through them, and there's a little small moment where he like tries to kiss her, but Sadie's really into the photos.
Yeah. She's like, oh, look at that splatter pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, so the next morning, the gym owner comes in, and there's Chief on the bench with the fucking top of his head and his brains oozing out. And then we cut to Michaela. She's being woken up by her mom, and school has been canceled as there has been another murder.
Oh no!
And so then we see Sadie and Michaela at their little slushy shop, right? And they're like getting all tingly and perkly over 105,000 followers.
Yes.
Yeah. So now there's going to be a town meeting. And the mayor, then the sheriff, are telling people that they need to stay calm, adhere to the new curfew. And then suddenly everyone's cell phones go off. And it's a picture of Chief on the weight bench with his fucking top of his head missing.
Yes.
And then everyone starts chanting, "Remember Al." That's his name, Al. And remember Al. And Jordan looks at the girls with suspicion.
Well, because just before everyone's phone went off, he saw Michaela pull a phone out of her bag and fiddle with it. And then
a second phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we're back at the shed, and Machete Man has finally broken loose.
Yes.
Now it's night.
So the town's doing a night march. They're all marching to remember Al. And Jordan sneaks into somewhere and finds a file on Michaela.
I think it was the school office.
Okay.
Student records.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Anyway, the march is going through town, and the girls check in on their phone. They realize that their pet killer is missing.
Yes.
Or this is actually right after the march goes through town, and they see the mayor has been impaled on a light post.
I had a hard time with that one. It was funny as shit.
It was funny.
But when you look at it, you're like, okay, so
physics.
It's like 23 feet tall.
Yeah.
and physics.
Flagpole. It was a flagpole.
Well, even still,
I know.
the depth at which she had sunk down on that thing, the diameter of the fucking pole,
I know,
is as big as a skull almost.
True.
But it just had it weirdly coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's enough to fucking rip a body in half. But anyway,
it did look cool.
Yeah. Well, it was, like,
Yeah. And that's when they realize that their pet has escaped, and we see a little kind of real quick shot of like a shadow in an alley.
Yeah, as they're walking behind them,
Mm-hmm.
shadow on a wall.
Yeah, and the girls are on edge now.
It's real now.
Yeah. So the next day at school, the news team who ignored them before,
mm-hmm.
the reporters all over them, asking if they're afraid the killer will target them next because of their blog and everything. And they love it at first. And then it's clear to both of them that he's following them.
Yeah. And then it's not so exciting.
Right.
So now we see him with the chief, and they want protection.
Mm-hmm.
He says he can't spare it. Not going to do it. And they start getting pissy. He says maybe they should stop checking their locations online and they wouldn't be followed. But they'd rather die than stop checking their locations online.
They actually say that.
Yeah.
I'd rather die.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so now they're in class and the weird fucking teacher starts slamming them for their bullshit, calling them sociopaths because of their blog and their
Mm-hmm.
website and unfeeling and this and that. So they get up and leave. A little bit later, Jordan tells him he needs to quit because his dad needs his help.
He can't help them with videos anymore.
Yeah. Michaela goes apeshit on him and says the sheriff is useless and was useless when Jordan's mom was killed. And then they all leave.
Mm-hmm.
They all go their separate ways. So now Michaela's saying Jordan needs to die. And
Right.
Michaela now can't find her second phone.
Mm-hmm.
She says Jordan took it. Sadie doesn't want to kill Jordan. Michaela's pushing it. She says, it'll be fine. I'll just slit his throat in his sleep. It'll be quick. So Sadie says, well, he's her friend, so she'll do it.
Right.
Yeah. Fucking these two.
At Jordan's house that night, he gets a text from Sadie that says she's outside. He invites her in. And he confesses to her that he sees a lot of red flags for Michaela. So up until just then in the movie, I was like, he's suspicious of both of them.
Yeah.
But turns out he's only suspicious of Michaela.
Apparently.
Yeah. And Sadie's sitting next to him, and she's got her knife, the same one she stabbed the fire chief with,
mm-hmm.
in her hand, kind of hiding it, and she accidentally drops it off the bed.
Yeah.
So as he's talking, she's trying to grab it.
Retrieve it, still look interested and sultry
and nonchalant, right?
Yeah.
She can't quite manage to get it. So they talk for a while and then they start to kiss, but they hear a sound. And outside, Michaela sees a shape stalking up the stairs. And she goes, Lemons? Which is the name of the killer. It was Lowell
Lemons.
Lowell Lemons.
Yeah.
I think they purposely mispronounced his name, but it was funny.
Yeah.
Lemons?
Lemons?
And so I started calling him Lemons after that. There's a knock at the door of Jordan's room, and he opens it, and he gets a machete in. It looked like the chest initially, but it was kind of his shoulder. And then Sadie, who's kind of hidden on the side of the bed when the knock came, she ducked on the side. She sees it happen, and Michaela from outside sees them struggling in the window, and he's fighting with Sadie. He's got her kind of pinned against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And Michaela throws a garden gnome through the living room window to wake up the chief.
The sheriff.
Sheriff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, because you called the fireman chief.
Yeah. Same thing. So he wakes up. He hears the scuffle upstairs. He goes up and he shoots at Lemons, who flees through the window and gets away. And outside, we see Michaela watching him limp off.
Mm-hmm. And this was a love shot. because after he goes through the window, we see the sheriff come up, lean out, and this was exactly like from Halloween when Donald Pleasance leans over the window, looks out, and we see the shattered window and the imprint where Michael Myers was, but he's not there. And it was exactly that shattered window shit on the ground. The sheriff's looking out, and you can see where the impact was, but he's gone. But then they cut, to Michaela, just watching him fucking hobble off.
Right.
So now the sheriff's giving a speech in front of a crowd, and it's an award for Sadie for fighting off Machete Man and saving Jordan's life. And we get a few shots of Michaela who's like, because she's not up there.
Right.
Right. And then I say a reporter, but the only reporter we see in this, the town reporter, asks, "What's next for the tragedy girl?" Singular. And Sadie answers. She starts to go, like she's going to say tragedy girls, because the few times they mentioned their names earlier.
Plural.
Yeah. Girls, plural. She answers as if it's just for her. And then we cut to Michaela, and she's just fucking.
Well, she turns around and leaves.
Yeah, she's pissed. So now we're in the gym, and they're doing prom stuff. We get all that set up and shit. So Michaela shows up. She needs to talk to Sadie. And they start arguing as vaguely as they can in front of everybody.
Right.
Right. So, the shit they come up with instead of saying what they're actually arguing about, it's kind of funny.
It's like about prom decorations.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
And then Sadie just says she never needed Michaela, and then Michaela storms off.
Yes. So then we get the we're separate now montage.
Yeah.
Of them doing stuff alone.
Yep.
And Sadie in this montage is getting closer to Jordan.
Yes.
While Michaela is just alone.
Yeah.
So then it's prom night. Jordan goes to Sadie's to pick her up. And Michaela is at her house. She's in her prom dress. They're taking pictures of her parents. And she goes out to her limo, and her driver is none other than Lemons.
Yes.
And it seems like they've teamed up after all.
Yeah, they did.
So at the prom itself, Sadie's dancing with Jordan, and she seems really just blasé about the whole situation. Like she's not there in her head, right?
Yeah.
And she keeps looking around for Michaela, who's not there. So Jordan apologizes for saying all those things about Michaela, because the killer attacked him in his room. It was obviously not Michaela.
Right. And she's still not engaging.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then Sadie and Jordan are crowned prom king and queen.
Yeah. So as that's going on, we see the teacher is going outside to have a cigarette, and she hears something. Creepy going, bam. Nope. She just catches a couple making out around the corner, sends them back inside, and lights up her cigarette. And then Michaela shows up.
Yeah.
And then Lemons. And Michaela stabs the teacher through the back and then slashes her throat.
Yeah.
And that was the first full-on fucking hardcore, no bullshit murder.
Yes.
Right? Holy God. No
accident. No botched attempt.
And no elaborate anything.
No.
Just squeak. Done.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
It is.
Yeah.
We're on.
Back inside, Sadie gets a text and it says secure number. And it's a picture of the dead teacher. And it says best night ever. And she knows who it's from.
Yeah.
So she goes to look for Michaela and she sees her and Michaela leaves. And so Sadie kind of follows her. And they end up in what I think is like the backstage area.
The student theater.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. We're all there shitting props and. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Michaela has a rad pink mask with X eyes on it.
Well, yeah, it was fluorescent.
Yeah.
And for some reason, there's a big black light in this unused student theater storage area.
aesthetics.
Well, it looked pretty cool.
It
I
did
gotta
look
say.
cool.
It was, that could be like, if they'd have stuck with that more through the movie, that could be a horror mask trend.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was cool. I liked it. So they talk about as kids, how as kids they killed Jordan's mother.
Yes.
That was their first kill together.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Jordan he followed Sadie and he's been listening the whole time.
Yeah.
Because they have this long talk with each other. And then Lemons enters with his machete and he is gearing for Sadie.
So yeah, he comes out and there's, oh, so you're going
to kill me now?
Yeah. And Michaela isn't going to kill Sadie.
Right.
She wants to save her.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants them to finish their plan.
Right.
So there's a plan.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know about this plan. We knew about the website stuff, but apparently bigger plan.
Big plan.
So Jordan, listening, knocks over a scene wall. There's a short chase. Lemons is starting to turn on Michaela because, he wants to kill. And she's like, no, I told you don't hurt her. And he's just like, I just need to fucking kill. Right? There's a struggle. And then she ends up shooting Lemons in the head. Michaela and Sadie hug. Jordan is like, what the fuck? And he wants to call the police. And Sadie ends up killing him by wrapping a stage rope around his neck and pushing him. So apparently we find out they're up on a platform now.
They got up on it during the scuffle and fight.
Yeah. So anyway, he's hung. He dies. Mm-hmm. And then we cut back. Now both girls are wearing fluorescent masks. Only Sadie's is green.
Right.
We got pink and green glowing. So they go into the gym and start lighting the decorations on fire, the streamers and shit hanging off the walls. I thought, okay, weird. And then all of a sudden, everybody texts, their phones go off.
Everyone gets a text.
And it's a picture of all the doors being chained shut.
Right.
All the doors of the school. So the entire prom burns to death as Sadie and Michaela watch outside.
Yeah. Well over 100 students.
Yep. They're all locked in the school.
Yeah. And so wow.
Yeah. That was the plan, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Huh. So then we cut to some news footage. Months have passed. The sheriff has resigned. The Rosedale Ripper was identified as Lowell Lemons, the machete guy. And the Tragedy Girls have millions of followers, a book deal, and full scholarships, and they're off to college. Yep. They got away with everything.
Yep. And that's it.
Yeah.
That they're off to their next chapter in life. Movie's over. Roll credits.
Yep. Whew.
Now I know you have something that you immediately wanted to identify about this movie.
I did. So I really liked that this movie had two truly awful characters as the protagonists.
Yep.
And like there was no one that they were playing against or playing off of, They didn't even have a good guy antagonist.
No. That
they were up against. And that they succeeded in their plan. Yeah. This movie was about these awful girls and they won. Right?
Yeah. and on to possibly a sequel.
Right? Here's the thing. And in real life, good doesn't always triumph over evil, but a lot of people seem to think that it should in film.
Right.
And in fact, we've written scripts where the main character isn't a good person.
Right.
But isn't this bad?
Oh,
right?
Well, yeah, not on this level. Well, we do have one that the main characters are pretty much this bad. Worse.
Oh, yeah,
even,
that's true.
You know, but same thing. Yeah, it's they're not awful, but
yeah. But
hey,
anyway, and this was a great movie, even though people don't think that evil should triumph in film.
Right.
Right. And I mean, there's tragedies, right? Stories. This wasn't a tragedy, this movie. Don't let society dictate how your movie should end. and don't kowtow to execs who say that no one will like your protagonist if they're not good, if they don't have anything redeeming about them.
Right.
It's bullshit.
Right. Because the whole redemption thing, what is redeeming? Okay. This isn't a story of two emotionally, psychologically scarred young women who, as children, were pushed into this weird fucking dementia thing where now they're interested in murder. Because clearly before we kick off the first opening credits, they've already been at it.
Right.
Right. And they have a plan to do more.
Yeah.
They want to become famous for having this murder site, but they want to be the ones that provide the footage and, or the victims and shit.
Well, yeah.
And it's just so fucking out there, you know? But I mean, that's kind of, take those off. That's kind of the thing is, like you said, it doesn't, a story is good if a story is good.
Right.
And we've talked with Lowell about the Hollywood formula, ABC, and you gotta, if you're going to go with a studio, you have to suck it up. You have to pucker up your ass and give them the fucking story they want, not the story you want. Because they're putting millions of dollars in. And they know this formula will get them some money back, if not all of it, and hopefully more.
Right.
Right. And that's why indie filmmakers have such a hard time, because all of them are like, fuck your formula.
Yeah. I'm
going to do my movie. And, these guys with the big checkbooks will be like, well, I'm not going to give you my money because, the people I'm used to dealing with want ABC.
Yeah.
And you've got A, L, and P. And I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Or you just got A.
Right. Or C, fuck A, right?
Right.
It depends on where it comes in. But yeah, be true to your script. I mean, you got to understand what you want to do with it does dictate how you're going to respond to this kind of thing.
Yes.
Maybe if you want to walk into Universal and you want one of their quasi tentpole production slots, you need to kowtow.
Yeah.
Right? You need to, I need the redeeming quality, and they can start out bad, but they have to become good and this and that. And if that's not the story you can write, then don't go to Universal.
Right.
But if you're hell-bent on going to Universal, that's the fucking story you need to write.
Yeah.
That's the business.
Yeah. I will say the thing though, about, villains, and like if your movie is about people who are just truly awful, they need to be enjoyable to watch.
They do. They need to be so bad.
Hilariously bad.
Well, not even,
or
sometimes hilariously bad, or so bad that they're fucking captivating.
Right.
Right? An American Psycho strikes a very fine balance.
It does.
With both of those. It is.
Love that movie.
It is. If you take the humor out, because we've talked about it, I would still, what the fuck is next? What is his thing? What is this fucking guy doing? It's just interesting as shit. But then you take that part out and you have the humor, right? If they went the humor route, I would have been like, I can't stop watching because, oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. But it's so finely spread out.
That the line they walk in the movie is so thin and so fine that when I watch that movie, and I think that movie is one of the fucking funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
It is.
I feel weird. I feel like I'm a weird person for thinking that movie's funny because I know that these things are not supposed to be funny to people,
right,
but they're hilarious.
Well, the bit with the dancing, right? I don't know. Well, we have a not singular sense of humor.
We have dark senses of humor.
We do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if somebody was offended by, they're making light of that, when they watched American Psycho.
Oh.
Because that's happened. Movies like that, people get on their fucking high horse and, you shouldn't be doing that and this and that marginalize. It doesn't marginalize anything. Weird shit happens in this world. And somebody wrote a film about a guy who does some weird shit, some bad shit. And
right.
some things happen.
It was a deeply intimate portrait of a psychopath. And I'm like, it's really funny though.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
The whole thing, even like the setup in the beginning,
I know,
was hilarious. Even though it was a serious, he does his thing. We're building who this guy is inside. Mm-hmm. no one, empty. Everything's outside.
Right.
Everything that motivates him is external.
Yes.
His external appearance, his
Mhm.
presentation to others,
Skincare regimen.
his fucking business cards.
I know.
Anyway, yeah. So, story.
Yeah.
And character. The thing that I liked about Tragedy Girls is I wasn't disappointed from watching the trailer.
Right.
So I thought, well, this looks interesting. It looks solid, and it looks like it's going to be a little fucking weird
Mm-hmm.
and funny.
Right up our alley.
Yeah, I chuckled at the trailer, which is never a bad sign.
Yeah.
But we always go into these things hesitant because we've watched many a trailer like, yeah, and then we watch the movie and you're like, what the fuck happened?
They clearly put the only good moments in the trailer.
Right. Well, they had to hire somebody, I'm pretty sure, to sift through that whole turd and be like, all right, if I do 84 seconds of these bits, it'll interest people enough to watch it. And then I'm out. I'm out, but this wasn't the case.
Right.
It was a good story, simple story. It wasn't overly complicated.
No.
It had the twist of them killing Jordan's mother,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't like super Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes, but it was like, okay, cool.
I know.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I get it.
I buy it.
Yeah. Everything about this was light. And that's what kept it entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And the macabre, that actually helped make it more entertaining.
It did, and I will say, with the practical effects that they did in this movie, gore wise, they didn't go hyper realistic with them.
No,
they didn't look like campy and silly and dumb, but it was obvious when you watched it that they were props. Like they didn't try. They didn't go Nicotero level with them.
No. Okay, so let's take Nicotero 10.
Okay.
And then at 1, let's put it's not anything we've ever done an episode on, but like that one zombie backwoods one, it was filmed on a camcorder.
Oh,
remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it was not even, it was just red paint, like bright red paint.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just bad. And there's only a little bit of it. So you take that shit, we're like, okay, so Nicotero at 10, and let's use a musty old faded ketchup packet at 1.
Okay.
Okay. I would put this at a 6.
Yeah. And I think that was intentional.
Well, yeah, but it fit perfectly.
Yes.
Because we obviously we weren't questioning what happened.
Right.
All these people, it was pretty fucking clear. But it wasn't like, this movie's certified to be 100% anatomically correct.
Well,
yeah.
I think that it was intentionally done it was intentionally done a little less than hyper realistic, because if it had been hyper realistic, it would not have matched the rest of the tone of the movie.
True. Yeah. So, I mean, because we saw the head come off,
mm-hmm.
and we saw the brains.
Yeah.
And you can right away, a horror fan sees that and goes, oh, that's pretty cool. But in your head, it's like, yeah, well, those aren't the best brains I've seen. Right.
Right.
And the body parts and stuff were, again, not hyper realistic. That's why I put them at a 6. They were better than average.
Oh, they were good.
And like you said, I think they were tonally
appropriate
mm-hmm. and deliberately set to be that way, because it really did just mix into everything.
Yeah.
And the most vicious part was Michaela killing that teacher.
Yeah.
Because that was just a no bullshit out of there.
Yeah.
Right? That brought it back from, these fucking girls are way the fuck out there. This is weird. This is like fringe shit. No, this shit happens in your backyard.
Yeah. And that was probably the most realistic effect
mm-hmm.
in the film. It wasn't a whole lot to do. It was just, the squib in the shirt.
Yeah.
And then the neck.
Yeah.
the throat slit.
Yeah. With the running blood and
Mhm.
all that good stuff. And I think that's the thing is this is a perfect horror comedy.
Yeah.
In that the horror is just enough to let you know this isn't, fucking Three Stooges.
Right.
This isn't, Zach and Miri make a porno. This is two girls killing people. So it's realistic enough to make that, this is the shit that they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's funny. This was fun. I'm not even gonna wait till the end. You got to see this.
You do.
It's a fun ride. It made me think of the effects. Here we go. Reanimator.
Mhm.
Granted, those are from the 80s.
Right.
Okay. But those fit the tone of the movie because they knew what they were doing.
Yes.
Like, we're making a movie at this level.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what we're going to do. And this is what we can afford. And we're just going to keep everything consistent. We're not going to try to overreach one particular area, to make it look impressive on the
Mhm.
screen above all else. They just embraced it.
Yeah.
Like Sam Raimi did with Evil Dead 2. Like,
Mhm.
people were into that shit. So if I get more money, the Deadites never changed.
No, they didn't.
Ash versus Evil Dead.
Even to Ash versus Evil Dead. I was going to say even in Army of Darkness, but you're right. Ash versus Evil Dead is much newer.
Yeah, decades later.
And the Deadites are still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you put something together, don't worry about redemption and shit for your character. I mean, if you're doing this for you and you're building your story, keep it honest. Make these characters the way you want them to, and sell them. Because we're the audience for this.
Yeah.
There are other people who aren't.
If redemption's part of your storyline, then put it in there. But if it isn't, if you're writing a movie just about evil people who don't need to learn a lesson, right? It's just
and there's tons of movies, right? And it's not always murder.
Right.
But let's look at Ocean's 11.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because we just watched that with our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She was interested the remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Clooney. She dug it.
Oh, she loved it.
Right. But let's look at, in the remake, they're not doing anything grand. They're not Robin Hood.
No.
They're
thieves.
They're thieves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing is, pull it off.
Yep.
And, I always go back to Star Wars. Everybody fucking loves Han Solo.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody fucking forgets that he was a paid murderer, smuggler. I mean, Han Solo's backstory in Star Wars, he's not a good fucking guy.
Well, no.
He's not like the accidental smuggler. He was a hardcore bitch. That was his past. They had the whole story of the Carillion blood stripe on his pants. And, you don't earn that by, serving tea kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right. But everybody he became that anti-hero. He became the pirate, the suave, smug, and that's the shit that sells. You don't have to be good to be that way.
Well, it does sell, but I think in the examples you used, like Han's helping the rebellion. That's his good thing that he's doing.
Only at the very end, he got sucked into the whole thing. He didn't want to be there at all.
Yeah. And in Oceans, Danny Ocean is up against, I can't remember the name of him in the movie, but the guy who owns the casino, he's just a dick. And he's a dick throughout the whole movie, and you hate him. Right. And, you like Danny because Danny's against him, right? And because Danny's charming and smooth and suave, and he's likable.
That's just it. It's Han Solo. Suave, sassy, Yeah. And you're like, huh. And you have the same guy, because Andy Garcia's character is just as much of a thief as Clooney.
Right.
Right. But hey, if you give him one characteristic that's unpleasant, he's like a terminal dick.
Right.
It makes it easy to distinguish between this bad guy and that bad guy. And you root for the bad guy that,
That is more
Has the-
entertaining to watch.
has the swagger and, and there's tons of movies like that,
Well, yeah.
and that's why, pirates, we've talked about this. That's why we are pirate people, Why does everyone love fucking pirates? They're not good. They're not freedom fighters. They're not making a point. They're not social justice, right?
They're just out for themselves.
Absolutely, and some had their reasons.
Yeah.
Okay? Some were privateers, which were paid, which is kind of like fell into my dream job. I wanted to go out and just steal shit. And whoa, one day the king comes up and says, hey, I'll give you a ton of money if you go steal all their shit. On it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the regular pirates, everyone fucking loves them. Everyone loves pirate stories.
Yeah.
But they're murdering thieves. I mean, hands down, that's, if you got to sum it up, they're just murderers and thieves.
Yeah.
And had their, I don't even know if it was like the real goal. It's the goal that we've put on them, centuries later, that they were trying to build a free society.
Oh.
No, because they stole from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you give a pirate a little swagger, give him a good line, boom.
Well,
instant love.
And one of the reasons that the girls in this movie are so likable, even though they're awful people, is because they're funny. Everything they do is funny,
Yeah.
and they're loyal to each other, right?
Yeah. One of the things that we had noted was it was topical and timely.
Yeah, I wrote that as we were doing the
Yeah.
intro.
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That is what I think that's probably 70% of what makes this successful is, like you said earlier, when we were going through the notes, making statements.
Yeah.
This is because, folks, all you need to do is log into Instagram and Twitter and just blindly fucking, fill your feed full of shit. Do hashtag this, hashtag that. Just see the stupid shit that comes up. Oh my fucking God.
And especially right now, the internet is getting so weird. But
yes, I will. I will close the door on that one. We won't even get into it.
But it's the thing that right now matters so much to everyone is how many likes do I have? How many followers do I have? Da 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 da. I need, I need to make sure that this aligns with my personal brand.
Right? Oh, I'm gonna drink some coffee.
Oh,
Keep talking. I don't want to. I said I wouldn't, and I'm not gonna. That's it. That's a separate. It's not a movie thing.
But it's the subject of this movie, and it is definitely a statement on that toxic, vapid shallowness that is pervasive because of social media, and movies do this all the time as statements, and it works.
Yeah. I mean, I guess all I want to say is social media amplifies the stupid. Because all of this, that's why I hate it so fucking much. One, that's time suck, but that's the thing is what these girls are doing is so not too far off the ridiculous levels that people reach to get attention for their YouTube channel, their Twitter feed, their fucking brand, right? It brings out the stupid. And I could honestly see that was the fun of watching this. I'm thinking, I wouldn't fucking put this past anybody out there doing it now. Or have tried.
Yeah.
To let's make a site and let's do some nasty shit and we get both our jams on, right?
Yeah.
We can not get caught, but we can be famous for it at the same time.
Well, yeah, that was the whole, jab of this movie basically is that if you're not on social media, if you're not doing well on social media, then who are you even?
Right. Well, yeah, Toby.
Which is, it's unfortunately reached that saturation level where so many people are on it that if you want to have a business or, do anything that you want to reach anyone, you don't have any choice but to be on it.
Right. Well, we're on it.
Well, yeah, we are.
Because where else do you advertise a podcast? Can't do it in the newspaper. Well, I mean, you could do it on the newspaper. You could do it on television. I last checked, and our advertising budget is just a little shy of the $250,000 that we would need for 3 months of regular advertising. So yeah, it's Twitter.
Yeah, I think I saw our advertising budget in the filter for the coffee maker.
Yeah.
It was that one coffee bean.
That's about it. I mean, it has its place, and I don't think I'm a hypocrite because I also don't go out there and expunge stupid shit, and I don't have videos of lighting firecrackers off in my ass. I don't go on racist rants and belittle people. I don't seek attention by being a prick. If anything, I speak up against a few people who are racists and pricks.
Sounds like you're talking about Carol Baskin.
Oh my God.
Everything is Carol Baskin's fault.
Can we talk about that for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so in all this bullshit, right? Everyone's finding shit that they've never found before on Netflix, Hulu, Prime, even maybe shit in your closet on a DVD or a fucking VHS. And there's the VHS machine that you never thought you never remembered having. So we have found Tiger King.
We're not the only ones who have found it.
We're not the only ones because that shit has exploded. I don't know. By the time this airs, I don't even know where it's going to have gone.
By the time it airs, everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, Tiger King. I saw that like a month ago.
Well, it might be like Making a Murderer. It might already have like, we're going to do a sequel. But I haven't seen the end of this yet because we got 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly how this ends. But I can say without spoiling it, if you haven't seen it and you have Netflix, Tiger King, fucking look for it. Yeah. Because you know what? Especially if you're a writer, you will never, you will watch this and think never, ever, ever. If God himself came down and a genie and all the powers of the universe that everyone believes in came down, sat down at a round table with me, together, we could not have pounded out this fucking story.
So, yeah, people have said that it is the love child of a train wreck and a dumpster fire.
And it is.
It's magnificent.
It's a documentary. It's about shit. So this is shit that really happened. But here's the thing. It's so fucking weird. I didn't hear about any of this.
No.
Why would we? This
right.
is in Oklahoma. It's in Florida. And it's just so goddamn weird.
It is weird.
But yeah, you've got to watch it, folks. You won't be sorry. Holy shit. And I mean, just, type Tiger King in anywhere and you're going to see the memes. Guess they don't even come close to the real thing.
It has everything you could ever want in a documentary.
It has shit I could have never thought of in a documentary.
I know.
It's great.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's back off of that. And there's a lot of social media use in there too.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a perfect example of what happens when you fucking lose your mind and you're given access to a keyboard, a processor, and an internet connection. Oh man. I don't even know where we were at. All I know is this was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
And it needs to be seen.
Yes.
So the story, it was tight. It was simple. It was not trying to be too big for its britches.
It was well paced, well written.
Yeah, extremely well paced. We took a break because it was one of those like, we got to talk about this.
I was like, pause it. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some moments where things were very bang, 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 bang.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it's not a big deal, but when you're taking notes, it's a little...
Right.
And we did have to stop because it's like, just like with another Wolf Cop, it's like, okay, hold on.
I know.
Got to catch up. It's going to be hard to talk about a movie when we're like, so I sat down and watched this movie and then there's these 2 girls and then it was over.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't help. That's a 2-minute podcast. 1 minute and 50 seconds of nothing and 10 seconds of the film. So, um, the whole anti-hero thing,
Mhm.
the bad guy thing, and I think those are actually different. The anti-hero isn't
They are
necessarily
different.
a bad guy, but
Yeah.
that's big. That to me, that's pirates. Pirates are the anti-hero.
Right.
They have their own vision of glory, but so
Yeah.
did the the Legion of Doom, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have the Justice League. We're going to help everyone. Legion of Doom is, well, we're just going to rule everyone, and that's going to help everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
There's a difference. They're different things.
Yeah, but just roll with it. Do it. Make
Yeah.
it work. You know, and then like everything else, share it with somebody, see what they think,
Mhm.
and stuff. The music, again, can make or break a film. But
It
you
was
were
great.
right. Yeah, it was tonally perfect
Mhm.
for what this was. And yeah, I mean, everyone did a good job.
Yes.
You know, their Lemons was not campy.
No.
There's a little kind of like standing on the edge of
He was.
his little monologue. I'm gonna cut your fucking heart out and slit your throat, and you know, this and that.
Yeah.
It was
He was a pretty one-dimensional character.
yeah. Well, he didn't need to be anything else,
Right.
because it wasn't about him. He was their prize,
Mhm.
their ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. And they didn't sing it, but you surely did get the sense that they wanted him to teach them all of his, you know, shit so they could get like top-notch kills. And then once they were done, you knew they were going to fucking kill him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was not like they had that conversation, but it was pretty clear. And that was the tone. They did a really good job of setting that.
Yeah.
You know, cinematography, it was great. They had money, so
Yeah.
clearly. The editing was pretty good. In looking up like the budget, I found a few bloopers people pointed out. Like when the pickup truck comes, there's no spike strips in the road. They never showed her pulling them off. And I'm like, well, I don't count that as a blooper because of the way it's edited. She's filming all this shit, and then Michaela's there, and they're watching the video. So clearly some time has passed.
Yeah.
Right. And then we hear poor Toby. Like, what the fuck was that? You know, I don't know. I mean, what would you highlight?
I mean, just all the things we talked about. You know, it's okay to have a villain be your main character, or two villains, as long as they're entertaining to watch. And if you make a statement in a movie, timeliness is really important.
Yes.
And it'll do better if that's something that people are already talking about. Right. People have been talking about the evils of social media for a really long time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that I think will help this be around for a while. Because it's timely now, but in 15 years from now, watching this movie, anybody who was alive in this period, you know, with any sense of, you know, mental recall will identify with it. Like, oh yeah, that was fucking ridiculous. You know, it's like I can watch like, you know, Stranger Things, right?
Right.
You know, that's kind of the thing is the story wasn't super great. I'm going to be honest. The story in the first season, it wasn't.
Oh, of Stranger Things.
Yeah, of Stranger Things.
I thought you were talking about the movie still, and I was like,
no.
I liked it.
No, Stranger Things was fun, and it was a decent story, but it wasn't like, oh, you know, that's not what caught me. And I think what caught most people is folks my age. The whole, oh God, I remember wearing that. That's how my fucking room looked. Oh God, you know, boomboxes, all the nostalgia in there.
Do you remember when the second season of Stranger Things came out, and there was a whole period on social media where everyone is like, what is this weird red room that that Nancy and can't remember his name. Nancy and whoever John, I can't remember, go into all the time. That's weird. What's going on with that room?
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if anybody listening had asked that question.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's if it's not something that you have contextual knowledge of, there's no reason that you would know what it is.
Right. It's a dark room.
Yeah.
That's where film was developed from a camera.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it. I used to shoot film because that's all there was.
I remember seeing that story and I was like, this is hilarious. And I sent it to you.
Yeah. I about lost my shit. Like, oh my God. But there are things in it because Lily has more than once, on because we've showed her bits and pieces of it to show her the things that we've talked about.
Well, and she recently started watching it too.
Right. But before that, we wouldn't let her watch it, but we would show her little bits like, what Dungeons and Dragons playing looked like in 1982 and, Star Wars toys and how kids dressed and phones.
Yeah.
The rotary phones and other movies. We've had other stuff we had used as examples, period pieces. How big the cars were in the 70s, like the 75 Impala that I drove around. I was 16 when I got a hold of that. Fucking thing was massive.
Like driving a boat.
It's the size of a like delivery truck.
Yeah.
And that was a 4-door family car. Now a 4-door family car would fit in our office.
Easily.
It's not huge. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the SUV we have would fit in here. I think it's Yeah,
it would fit in here.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, I think what made that hit was the nostalgia. But that's the thing is you can use that. And they tied that into the story. How they dealt with things was very period specific. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have all of the quick answer bullshit that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I see a killer. I pick up my phone and instantly 100 people know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Right? Well, in 1982, that wasn't an option.
Right. You can't tweet, there's a killer outside my window.
Nope. And I love it, in Will's house, the phone is in the one spot.
Yes.
That it was in every house. That weird fucking spot next to, but not in the kitchen.
It's really inconvenient.
Super inconvenient.
Yeah.
Almost like for a decade, the phone company fucking hated people.
Like our intercom phone.
Kind of. Yeah. It's all the fucking way. What is the point? I could walk to the fucking front by the time with almost less complication. Anyway, timeliness.
Yes.
Be timely, but I would say when you're writing it out, do something. Make the statements obvious. Subtle statement films lose their shit like 5 years after they're out.
Well, you do, and also even when they come out, like a lot of people don't get them.
Yeah, that's super subtle. Too subtle. Way too subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, everything. There's nothing to pick apart on this. Yeah, super happy. I found that random tweet.
Well done.
Yeah, I mean, because to be honest, I flick through to get through as many as I can. Because, like I said, it's filling up.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing anything right now. So there we go. B-siders.
Thank you for listening.
Tragedy Girls.
Yeah.
Yep. It's on Hulu. Give it a look.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you
show it some love.
Yep. If you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, tell you what, people, rewatch the shit that you love. Because guess what? People get money for the playtime.
Yeah.
Support those B movies.
Share it with your friends.
Yep. Support those indie films. Just watch shit. I mean, you're paying $6 a month for $6 a month for Hulu.
Yeah.
Watch some stuff. Make them pay people.
Right.
And in the meantime,
join Stage 32.
Yep. Join Stage 32. Stage32.com.
Yep.
and get in touch with everyone, because guess what? Everyone's got time.
They do.
Start talking to people. They do a introduce yourself weekend every weekend. So that's perfect time to join up and just put out in the introduce yourself forum, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. You will get people asking you to join their network, and people will be talking to you. There are some like regulars who are constant, community supporters.
Yes.
Go get them types.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. So make use of the time.
It's a great community, and it's a virtual community, so it is social distancing safe.
Absolutely. 750,000 members worldwide. Make some connections, folks. And take a stop at our website,
www.lordsofmisruleproductions.com,
and see what we got going. We have links to podcast platforms, so you can subscribe to the podcast
wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, we have our podcast page.
Yep.
So all the episodes are there.
You can listen directly on the site.
Yep. You can click on our Patreon link. Check out our Patreon page. All of our podcasts are free there as well. If you become a patron, you get some extra stuff.
Yes.
Some extra posts and little tidbits of things. And social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we do have YouTube. I'm going to bring this up because I'm toying with the idea of videoing our recordings.
Yes.
And putting, instead of whole episodes up, put up, 5-10 minutes of video excerpts with actually us and not a slideshow.
I would have to wear clothes that are not pajamas then.
Oh, I could just, zoom in tight. More than anything, I got to figure out where to get two cameras placed in here. Well, then that's like, I suppose maybe. But then we can't see each other if it's like up here.
Oh, what if we have them there?
I was thinking like, get that, put one there in that corner. I could put but see, the problem is the tripods for these fucking cameras are like wide.
I know.
Right? So I'd have to see what I could do. Which I just want to say before we go, really excited about this episode because we redid The Office.
That's right. This will be the first one with our new setup.
Yeah. So instead of being 3 feet apart,
we're 6 feet apart.
Yeah. Maybe even almost
slightly
7.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. Move shit around.
Your mic's not picking me up. Mine's not picking you up.
It will a little bit.
Well,
but not as
a twinge.
Yeah. Still got to mess with some stuff. But yeah, it's kind of nice, a little more professional and comfortable.
Yeah.
We have our own areas.
Yeah.
I do need some sound panels, though, because after moving shit around, the new configuration doesn't support the number of panels that we have.
The walls are more naked.
A little bit. And I will one day order those. So we'll see how this sounds.
Yeah.
But right now is not the time to be ordering shit like that because I kind of feel like Amazon and carriers are busy with some like more important shit than my fucking sound panels.
Yeah, it's not as important as medical supplies and that kind of stuff.
I could never order them. I'd give a fuck, but
Yeah.
So I'll hold off on the superfluous, unnecessary bullshit ordering.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So on YouTube, here's the thing, folks. If you would like to see that, you can drop us an email. We have email links on our website as well. Just click on it, and there you go. You don't have to type out lordsofmisruleproductions.com. In part of the email address, just click the link. If you'd like to see both, because we have some subscribers who listen to episodes in video format, even though it's just a picture of the movie poster.
Right.
For the video. If you'd like to have that and have some video excerpts, a couple minutes, here and there, let us know.
Yeah, we'll prioritize it as a thing.
Yeah, because if that's your thing, here's the deal. If I can do less, I'm going to. If you don't want me to do less, speak up. And that's fine. People say, "Hey, man, you know what? I still want to listen to the podcast in that format, but seeing a video would be cool too. A couple minutes of video as a separate, video upload. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe people are wondering, who are these people who talk about B movies and have
lovely, smooth voices.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what they're saying.
And then they'll see us and they'll be like, oh.
They're nerds.
I see. Those dorks.
Like IT crowd. Standard nerds.
Yeah.
All right. I think that does it. We covered everything. We covered the website, the links. Become a patron. If you're listening, subscribe, rate, review. Please. Thank you.
It helps so much.
It does.
On whatever platform.
Yeah. Because, I don't know, there's some magical, mystical bullshit involved with that. I haven't figured it out yet. I actually, honestly don't think it fucking matters. But the Mediaverse says it's important in like 100 different forms. None of them can agree. But anyway, please do it. Just make us feel like we're, not talking bullshit. And that's going to do it.
All right.
So,
thank you for listening.
It's been wonderful.
We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Stay safe, folks.
Yes.
And, come on, B-siders. Let's watch those movies.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Till next week.
Yeah, till next week.
Bye.
Bye.